I'm on the hunt for the best mince pie. I do this every year, but I always forget to keep like a record of it. So I thought this year I'd put it out there. So if anyone has any recommendations, what one's your favourite, let me know because I want them. I'm going to eat a shit ton of mince pies and I will love it. So the first one I'm trying is the snowy mince pies from Tesco. I've had these ones before and I really like them. They were quite a high score. I think they finished second last year or the year before. So I take this very seriously. I've got notes how much it costs. £2.15 for 6. It's 35.8p per mince pie. The box says it's 57 grams, but when I weighed it's 53 grams. So go and buy this 53 grams. It's 0.67p per gram. So scoring. Again, I take this seriously. I've got 3 categories. I've got the pastry, the filling, and then I didn't know what to call it, so I just called it like je ne sais quoi. So just like the overall vibe of it all, just whether it all works or not. So they'll be out of 10, and then I'll average them out, and that'll be the overall score. So I'm keeping a table, I'm keeping a record of these. These feel smaller, but I feel like that's a Mandela effect of they've been doing it gradually over the years. There you go. Taste test. To me it tastes very orangey. I like that. It is very sweet. The pastry itself was just plain shop bought pastry. And this has a bit of like a sogginess to it. It's very soft. The icing on top doesn't really add anything. Just a bit of sweetness, but the mincemeat filling itself is quite sweet. Pastry I give 7 out of 10. Yeah, it was nice. It wasn't really like buttery short crust pastry. Filling, I've given an 8. It was quite sweet, however, I really liked the orange in it, and there was a little bit of spice in it, but nothing too wow. Really nice overall, but there wasn't anything more to it. Overall, je ne sais quoi, I've given a 7. Although the icing on top didn't really add anything. I mean, it was nice. I like fondant icing, so I just ate that. I do find these quite moreish. That's why I've given it more than perhaps I think I should, because I'm eager to have another one. I mean, I am a pig, so overall the average is, that's 22. Oh wait, I can't do the maths. 22 divided by 3. Okay, so 22 divided by 3. The overall average is 7.33 reoccurring, but £2.15, I feel like the price has gone up. Overall, these are quite sweet, however, they are very moreish, and I'm going to go back for more. Today is Sainsbury's mince pies. So as always, I've got my notes. So these are 170 for 6. That makes them 28.3p each. They weigh 60 grams, and so that makes it 0.47p per gram. Had a look, and last year they were £1.60 for these ones, so they've only gone up 10p. So let's get to the important bit and eat them. It looks like it's got a nice little Christmas tree on there. Oh, these ones are really hard to get into, isn't it? That's what they look like, very anemic. So I'm going to rate this in 3 categories. There's pastry, filling, and then just overall vibes. I'm going to call it je ne sais quoi. It's just if it's got anything different about it, whether they're moreish, whether they work or don't. And then I'm going to average them out, and that'll be the overall score. So let's get into it. The first impression is they're okay. The filling is very sweet and doesn't have much flavour to it. I can see on the packet it says butter and rich short crust pastry. I would not be able to tell that from first bite. So the pastry is very pasty in the mouth. It's very floury. It's stuck to my tooth and gums now. So I didn't really enjoy that. Again, I wouldn't be able to say it was butter enriched to me. It just tasted like just a normal like oil-based short crust pastry. The pastry I'm going to give, I think, a 4 out of 10. It was okay, but like, it wasn't horrible. It's just left my mouth feeling there. The filling's bland. It's just sweet. There's not really much like raisins and stuff in it. It's very saucy. So it seems like the main part of the mincemeat is apple puree, and then sultanas, and then raisins. I don't really taste anything. It just tastes sweet to me, like a sweet sauce. I love like orangey and citrusness in mince pies. I can't taste any of that. I can't taste any spices either. By the looks of it, there are no spices in it. I'll give it a 5. It was average at best. So for the overall je ne sais quoi, I will give, I think, a 4. It doesn't have anything different about it. I like the Christmas tree pastry on top though, so that's going to give it an extra point. So it adds up to 12. Divide that by 3. Nope, I can't do maths. It adds up to 13. Divide that by 3 is 4.33 reoccurring. It's a very bland mince pie is how I describe it. Bland and, well, just below average. So let me know your favourite mince pies. I want to eat them all. I want to try them all. I want to try like the finest ones, like the fancy ones, see if there's any difference between them. Normally they're not actually that high up on my list because they get a bit too wanky with them. I'm on the hunt for the best supermarket mince pie. And thank you very much to Cornish Kate for this suggestion. Today I am trying the M&S Brownie Mince Pies, or the Rodney Reindeer Pies. So these are described as pastry pies made with butter and caramelised butter oil, or brown butter, and filled with milk chocolate brownie. Should I be a mince pie purist and not count these as mince pies as part of the series? Probably. Do I care? No! So the price. They are £3 for 4. 75p each. They're 42 grams, which is 1.78p per gram. So this is what it looks like. It's got a nice little cute Rodney reindeer on top. Never get into these. I always struggle. That's what it looks like. I don't think I'm a fan of these. My first mouthful was very dry. I'm going to rank these in 3 different categories. So it's going to be pastry, filling, and then overall je ne sais quoi / overall vibe. I'm going to score each one out of 10, and then I'm going to average that to get the overall score of the mince pie. So for the pastry, I think I'm going to give it a 6. I would have said that pastry is for like cheaper mince pies. It was quite dry. There wasn't really any butteriness to it. Taste a tiny bit of that brown butter flavour, but not enough to have it as a description on the front of the box. So for the pastry, I'm going to give it a 6. It was dry, but there was a slight little bit of flakiness to it, and I did like the flavour, so that's why it's a little bit higher. The filling, I'm going to give a 6. The brownie was not rich. It did not have like a nice buttery texture. There wasn't really had any flavour at all. Overall, like je ne sais quoi vibe. I like that they've tried something different. However, it just did not work. For that, I'm going to give it a 3. It's got a couple of extra points there because I like the idea. However, the execution just did not work. So the overall score is 15. So dividing that by 3, so that is 5 out of 10 for this pie. I was really excited because on the front it says brown butter pastry, and I love brown butter. Belgian chocolate brownie, again, it just sounds so luxurious, but the end result was just dry. I've actually probably been slightly a little bit generous with the scoring. It's the final 5 out of 10 for these, which when you're paying 75p per 40 gram pie, that is not good. And today we got Sainsbury's Ice Top Mince Pie. I'm assuming these are going to be very similar to like the regular mince pies I had from Sainsbury's. I did look at the ingredients list, and this one has less mincemeat in it, and also this mincemeat has less apple in it as well. So there is very tiny differences. So the price, these are £2 for 6, making them 33.33 reoccurring p each. They weigh 58 grams, so the price per gram is 0.57p. That's what it looks like. Right, time to try it. First bite is okay. I think I enjoyed this one more than the regular Sainsbury's one. Fondant on top is quite thick, or it feels thicker than the snowy ones from Tesco. It's very stretchy fondant. I don't know if the pastry is different to the regular ones, but it tastes nicer. This one isn't as pasty as the other one. So the pastry I'm going to give 7. There wasn't really anything special to it. It's just like a alright pastry. It's like a good shop bought pastry. The mincemeat I'm going to give 7 again. It was a little bit sweeter, but I thought it was quite nice. There wasn't any zestiness or spiciness to it, but it was nice. The last category is je ne sais quoi. Has it got anything different about it? It's just points that I can give it that I couldn't fit into the other 2 categories. Normally I think I prefer the ice topped mince pies, but that one I didn't really enjoy, the icing on top, the fondant on top. I felt like each bite was a little bit gummy almost, because I was standing there just trying to chew the fondant, and it just went a bit pasty. Although this one had less mincemeat in it compared to the other Sainsbury's one, I felt like there was more. It felt more filled out. There wasn't an air pocket in there like there is with other ones. So for this last category, I was going to give it a 4. However, I think I'm going to revise that and give it a little bit higher. I'll give it 5.5. The fondant didn't work on top. Justify myself for a mince pie. 5.5 is the final score. So in total, that's 19.5. Dividing that by 3 to get the overall average, and that is 6.5. I still want one of like the regular, like non-expensive mince pies to wow me, because they have done before. I don't know, I feel like maybe the companies are not putting as much effort into them. Today I've got Sainsbury's Taste Difference Brandy Port and Brown Butter Mince Pies. These sound amazing. These aren't the regular Taste the Difference ones, these seem to be like the fancy ones. What I've noticed about these ones is they have heating instructions on the back, which I like. I don't know if others have that. I haven't seen any so far that do, or I haven't noticed it. So the cost of these were £3 for 4. They're 75p each, which is a lot. These weigh 60 grams each, so that makes it 1.25p per gram. These are slightly different in the way that they have brown butter in the pastry. I love brown butter, so I'm looking forward to these. Then it's described as having a brandy port and pecan mincemeat filling. Again, that sounds really nice. So the important bit, and taste it. So this one's got like a little snowflake on top, very nice. Oh, I've lifted the lid off. Okay, here's what it looks like. So with the pastry, I really do like the flavour. You can tell there's something different about it. Would I pinpoint that it was exactly like brown butter? Probably not. It does have that slight nuttiness to it that brown butter gives, but it's more like a brown sugar flavour. I like the filling. I did get a little bit of a taste of a pecan in one bite, but not the next. I can taste there's a tiny bit of alcohol in there. I don't really get many spices though, which is I love in a mince pie. So on its own, I find it a little bit disappointing, but when you eat it with the pastry and everything else, it does really work nicely. So scoring, pastry, I'm gonna give 9. It was really nice pastry actually, and like the more I had it, the more I was enjoying it. It had a really nice flavour to it. It didn't taste like oily short crust pastry like the other ones have. With the filling, I'm a bit torn what to give it, because I did like it, but I didn't love it on its own. I think because I read what was in it beforehand, I kind of overhyped it a little bit. Because it tasted nicer than the plain ones, but it wasn't wow. So the filling, I've given it 7.5. Overall, je ne sais quoi. So these ones are very Moorish. I do want another one, so I probably will eat another one. I like the brandy and the port in it. I think that worked very nicely. Then with the pastry, I love that there was something slightly different about it. Even if I didn't really get brown butter totally from it, I could still taste there was something different about it. For that, I'm going to give it a 9 again. So in total, that is 25.5, and then dividing that by 3, that is 8.5. So that's the overall average score. These are very nice mince pies. Sometimes with the fancier ones, they get a bit too wanky with it. However, these ones were really nice. There was a nice balance overall. And today, it's the Morrison's Iced Mince Pies. There doesn't seem to be anything different about these mince pies. It just says short crust pastry pies filled with mincemeat topped with soft icing. So the price, they're $1.90 for 6, 31.6p each, and they weigh 56 grams, which makes them 0.56p per gram. Let's get to the important bit and eat one. I always struggle to open them. This is what it looks like. Very standard mince pie. There's the middle. So I've peeled off the icing so you can have a better see. The first thing I noticed about these is hardly any filling in there at all. Honestly, seems like the bottom layer of the pastry is thicker than the filling. Scoring, I've got 3 categories: pastry, filling, and then je ne sais quoi / like overall vibe. Basically points that I couldn't give in the other categories go in here. But each 1 out of 10 and then do overall average. Pastry, it was okay, it's quite bland, wasn't really anything to it at all. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a 5. So for the filling, I'm going to give it a 6. There was a little bit of flavour in it, but then there was hardly any at all, so I couldn't really taste it too much. It was a little bit sweet. That was it. So for the overall je ne sais quoi, the overall vibe, I think it has to be quite low. I think I'm going to give 4. The balance of it was just completely off. The fondant was a bit too thick compared to the mincemeat, which there was hardly any at all. There wasn't really anything different about it. I mean, it was okay. It was very average. Adding those 3 scores up, that is 15 in total. Divide that by 3, that's 5. So 5 out of 10 is our average. I think that is a very fitting score for this actually, because my overall review would be to describe these as average. So it pretty much got bang on average. Hopefully there's going to be nicer ones in the future. There's been a couple of duds so far. And today I'm reviewing the Mr. Kipling Deep Filled Mince Pie. So these don't seem to have anything different about them. It just says butter enriched pastry cases with a mincemeat filling baked with sprinkling of sugar. The price for these vary from shop to shop. I got them for £2.25 at Morrison's, but they are £2.50 elsewhere. Being £2.25 for 6, they are 37.5p each. They weigh 61 grams, so they are 0.62p per gram. Time for the best bit and to eat it. This one was the easiest to get out of the tray so far. It just slipped out. This is what it looks like. It's got snowflake on top. It looks a bit messier compared to the other ones. There's none left in the tin, so not the best looking. I'm going to score these out of 10 in 3 different categories. So we've got pastry, filling, and then je ne sais quoi. So that's like just overall 4 points that I couldn't put in other categories. The pastry is not good. It's not flaky. It's not buttery. It's just left really pasty feeling in my mouth. It's not nice. It almost feels undercooked. For that reason, I'm giving the pastry a 3. It's edible, but I didn't really like it. With the filling, it's a bit different. It's a bit weird. It kind of has a gel-like consistency to it. Flavour of it is quite nice. There are little hints of spices in there, which I always enjoy. I feel like with these ones, you can kind of taste like the raisins and the sultanas a bit more. But I can't really get over that gelness to it. For the filling, I'll give a 5. And the overall like vibe to it, the je ne sais quoi, I didn't really enjoy it. It doesn't really have anything different going for it, and if it does, they're all negative in my opinion. This is being really nitpicky, but I feel like the overall shape of it was a bit awkward as well, because on the outside it just went like that. So the first bite was just solely pastry. I think that wouldn't be as bad if the pastry was nicer. One positive for this mince pie is that it was full to the top. Other ones have had air pockets in them, whereas this one didn't. Unfortunately, the mincemeat wasn't the nicest. I think I'm going to give it a 3. So adding those 3 scores up, we get 11. Dividing that by 3 to get our overall average, that is 3.66 reoccurring. That is the worst score so far. Really disappointed with those ones, but I feel like they have been getting worse every year. I have not been enjoying them as much. Today I'm trying Morrison's The Best Deep Filled Mince Pies. These are described as all butter short crust pastry pies with a mincemeat filling containing vine fruits, apple, brandy, cider and spices. These are £2.75 for 6. I did check, and last year they were £2.50, so they've gone up 25p. They're 45.9p each. They weigh 65 grams, making that 0.71p per gram. The important bit, the taste. This is what it looks like. Got a snowflake on top. It's very anemic. Cheers. And if you can see, the pastry looks very thick. I'm going to rank these in 3 different categories. So pastry, filling, and then je ne sais quoi / overall vibe of it. The pastry, it is very thick. It's very dense and quite heavy. Yes, this does have a slight butteriness to it, but I wouldn't really say this was butter pastry. It doesn't have any flakiness to it. On the front it describes as melt in the mouth. I don't really think so. Although the flavour was okay, I wouldn't say this was like a premium pastry. Above average in my opinion, so for that I'm going to give it a 6. With the filling, the first thing I could taste was the alcohol. I'm not really much of a drinker, so it is probably stronger for me. It wasn't too in your face, but it definitely was the first flavour I could taste. That isn't a complaint by any means. It's quite jammy, which I kind of do like. It has a nice flavour, there is a little bit of spices, but the alcohol is at the forefront. So I'm going to give the filling an 8. Overall, je ne sais quoi, the overall vibe, I think it has to be quite low because the pastry was so thick, it did kind of ruin the rest of it. Like the filling in the middle was quite thin. This worked better separately when I like deconstructed it than it did all as one. Personally, I like the alcohol taste to it, so that's a positive for it. The overall flavours were okay, it was just how it's been put together doesn't work. For those reasons, I'm going to give it a 6. Adding those scores together, we get 20, dividing that by 3, so we get an overall average, and that is 6.66 reoccurring. So with this mince pie, I think it is a bit confused. It's trying to be like that finer one, but it doesn't quite hit the mark. I think that's why over the years my score for the more expensive ones have been lower, because it just tries to be too much and it just doesn't work. All the components just don't go together.